Welcome to WT History. In this series, we list all the major events that happened in the world in a year, starting from 1776 to 2024. February 4th marked the first known written reference to Groundhog Day. James Morris, a shopkeeper in Pennsylvania, recorded the tradition in his diary, laying the foundation for what would become a quirky but beloved American custom. Just days later, on February 10th, the Act of Union, also known as the British North America Act of 1840, was proclaimed. This monumental legislation officially merged Upper and Lower Canada into the United Province of Canada on February 11th, marking a major shift in colonial governance and paving the way toward Canadian Confederation. Meanwhile, over in Washington, the first ongoing filibuster in the United States Senate began on February 18th and lasted until March 11th. A preview of political gridlock that Americans would see for generations to come. A landmark decision arrived on March 9th when the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in United States v. the Amistad, declaring that the African captives who had taken control of the ship had been illegally enslaved and thus were justified in their rebellion. On April 4th, President William Henry Harrison died just 31 days after taking office, the shortest presidency in American history. His death from pneumonia stunned the nation, and Vice President John Tyler assumed the presidency. Later that summer, June 21st marked the founding of St. John's College in the Bronx, now known as Fordham University, established by Jesuits committed to higher learning. On July 20th, businessman Lewis Tappan established the Mercantile Agency in New York City, the forerunner of today's Dun & Bradstreet, pioneering the credit reporting industry. One of the most powerful voices of the abolitionist movement, Frederick Douglass spoke passionately at the Anti-Slavery Convention in Nantucket on August 11th, capturing hearts and forever launching his public career. Just days later, on August 16th, President Tyler vetoed a bill to reestablish the Second Bank of the United States. The result? Chaos. Enraged members of the Whig Party staged the most violent protest in White House history. As the year continued, educational institutions continued to expand. Queen's University was founded on October 16th in Kingston, Ontario, under a royal charter from Queen Victoria. In November, the seeds of a major American city were planted with the founding of Dallas, Texas by John Neely Bryan. And in Boston, reformer John Augustus pioneered the modern concept of probation, seeking rehabilitation over punishment in the criminal justice system. Across the Atlantic, March 12th brought tragedy when the steamship SS President disappeared in the Atlantic Ocean with all 136 passengers and crew lost. The ship was commanded by the famously daring Captain Richard Roberts, who once claimed he'd sail in a bathtub if needed. On May 22nd, unrest spread in the Caucasus as the Georgian province of Guria revolted against the Russian Empire, a harbinger of the long tensions between Imperial Russia and its southern territories. June 6th marked a data milestone. The UK Census of 1841, the first to document names and ages of all household members and to be centrally administered, giving modern demographers a crucial window into Victorian life. Art and culture flourished too. On June 28th, the hauntingly beautiful ballet Giselle premiered in Paris, with Carlotta Grisi in the lead and music by Adolphe Adam, becoming one of the Romantic era's most beloved ballets. Tourism took a leap on July 5th when Thomas Cook organized his first railway excursion, laying the foundation for modern travel agencies. 2 weeks later, on July 17th, British satire took off with the debut of Punch magazine, destined to shape public opinion through wit and caricature. But disaster struck on October 30th as fire engulfed the Grand Armory of the Tower of London, destroying priceless artifacts and causing damages worth £250,000. On November 13th, Scottish surgeon James Braid witnessed a demonstration of animal magnetism in Manchester, inspiring him to study and eventually coin the term hypnotism. To close the year, on December 27th, famed pianist Franz Liszt performed at the Sing Academy in Berlin, electrifying the audience. This night would be remembered as the birth of Listomania, a musical phenomenon that swept Europe. Across the wider world, the First Opium War continued to reshape Asia. On January 20th, British and Qing officials agreed to the Convention of Chwenpi, an early but fragile step toward resolution. Just days later, on January 26th, Britain occupied Hong Kong, a move that would have lasting geopolitical consequences. A census taken shortly afterward found a population of just 7,500. The age of Antarctic exploration pressed forward when explorer James Clark Ross discovered the active volcano Mount Erebus on January 27th, followed by his discovery of the Ross Ice Shelf, Victoria Land, and Ross Sea the next day. Also on January 30th, El Salvador declared itself an independent republic, ending its ties to the Federal Republic of Central America. On the same day, tragedy struck in Puerto Rico as a fire destroyed 2/3 of the city of Mayagüez. In May, the Sino-Sikh War began, another flashpoint in the broader struggle for influence in Asia. On May 3rd, New Zealand officially became a separate British colony, no longer administered under New South Wales. A royal milestone followed on July 18th, as Pedro II of Brazil was crowned emperor in a lavish ceremony in Rio de Janeiro. Back in South Asia, the seeds of modern education were planted when Dhaka College was founded by Daniel Wilson and Dr. James Taylor, becoming the first major modern educational institution in the Indian subcontinent. On July 31st, missionary David Livingstone arrived in Kuruman, his first station in Africa, a humble beginning to what would become legendary explorations. Between August 20th and October 16th, a major expedition to end the slave trade was launched up the Niger River by Britain. Unfortunately, disease ravaged the crew, and the mission was largely unsuccessful. On September 24th, Sarawak separated from Brunei, and James Brooke was appointed its first Raja, starting the rule of the famous White Rajas. Back to the First Opium War. On October 10th, British forces captured the garrison at Chinhai, and on October 13th, they occupied Ningbo, strengthening their grip on Chinese trade ports. Finally, on December 23rd, during the First Anglo-Afghan War, British diplomat Sir William Hay Macnaghten was assassinated at close range by Afghan General Akbar Khan, escalating tensions and foreshadowing Britain's looming defeat in the region. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us next time as we cover another remarkable year in history.